Good evening. Welcome to the Forum for the City Council of Cottonwood. My name is Liz Danbury, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the League of Women Voters of Greater Verde Valley. We recently changed our name to the League of the Greater Verde Valley to be more inclusive of our whole area here. Our timekeeper this evening is Mary Gassaway. I'd like to thank Yavapai Broadcasting's Verde Valley Television, broadcasting on Cable Channel 2 on Southern Link and Cable 1 cable systems for covering this event, and the City of Cottonwood for the use of this lovely facility. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization celebrating our 93rd birthday this year. The League encourages the public's informed and active participation in government. While we never actually endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping public policy through studying important issues and using our positions to advocate for or against those issues at local, state, and national levels. Throughout our 93-year history, the League has been a voice for sound government practices. The League places an emphasis on voting and voter registration and is nonpartisan in presenting factual, unbiased information on candidates and the voting process. We do not support or oppose candidates for any office. This evening, we will present a forum for the City Council candidates for Cottonwood. The candidates are Tim Alinsky, incumbent, who isn't able to be here this evening, Randall Garrison, Linda Norman, who's not able to be here this evening, Karen Pfeiffer, incumbent, and Darrell Smith. The format we're going to follow this evening is, if they would like, each candidate can have 3 minutes to introduce themselves. Then each candidate will have 2 minutes, or we'll give you 3 minutes to respond to a question which was presented to you earlier. After a short break to give you a time to submit your written questions, the candidates will then each have 2 minutes to answer your questions. I ask that if you have questions, raise your hand, and Robin or Kathy or Ellie will come pick them up from you. The candidates are going to close with a 3-minute final statement. Our timekeeper, who is Mary Gassaway of the League, will give the candidates warnings when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds, and when their time has expired. We have a brief statement that was submitted by Tim Alinsky, which I will now read. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for conducting this forum and allowing me to have an opportunity to submit a brief essay on my desire to retain my council seat. As I have stated in the articles for the Verde Independent, my primary focus on council would be to preserve and promote the Verde River, as I believe our success as a community depends on this. Our economy is quickly changing in the Verde Valley through tourism and the wine industry, in some respects returning to its beginnings as an agricultural-based community. None of the growth we are experiencing would be possible without the Verde, and it is our responsibility to manage this growth in a way that preserves the river. By promoting the Verde River, we raise awareness and encourage our community and others to protect it. Through its preservation, we can retain all the economic activity that depends on the river, like tourism and agriculture. I would continue to push for access points and parks along the river. I would like to see our riverfront park expanded, including its network of trails, and would work to continue our strong relationship with Arizona State Parks. Most importantly, by preserving the flow of the Verde River, we also ensure an adequate water supply for our community. Since acquiring the private water companies that once serviced the community, the city has taken great steps towards reducing our impact on the aquifer. I would like the city to be more aggressive in these efforts by expanding our use of reclaimed water and continuing to promote low water use in residential and commercial activities. Cottonwood is a community of many newcomers from other states, and it is our responsibility to educate these people on the necessity of water conservation. I would encourage this culture of conservation in our city in an effort to put us on the map as leaders in the state. Other important issues I would focus on include historic preservation. Years ago, I worked with council to form the Cottonwood Historic Preservation Commission, which I now chair. We are working on surveying and collecting information on all historic properties in Cottonwood to encourage saving historic structures and to provide economic stability in our neighborhoods. We will achieve our certified local government designation soon with the state, which will allow us to apply for grant money to further our efforts. In closing, I'd like to say I have enjoyed serving Cottonwood through the years. I am born and raised in Arizona and have lived in many parts of the country and world. Arizona is unique and special to me, and the city of Cottonwood is one of the great gems in this state. I believe Cottonwood has made a name for itself among all other cities and towns, and I look forward to playing a role in its growth as a leading example in sustainability and respect for our environment and community. The candidates have drawn lots to determine who's going to go first to give their opening statements, and after that we'll try to go in a more random order when we're asking our questions. The previously submitted question, which you'll have 3 minutes to answer, is Cottonwood, an independent city, is also an integral part of the Verde Valley as a whole. Please address an important regional issue such as water, transportation. Oh, I guess I should let you do your opening statements first. You have 3 minutes for those too. We'll start with Mr. Garrison.
Nope, I'm number
1,
two.
2, 3.
I didn't draw lots.
You get 2. I'm number 2. I get number
Vice
3.
Mayor would be first, right? You have 3?
I didn't get a choice, but
I
that's
got
okay.
number-
Okay, so that makes you number 1.
Okay, I can take that. I'm number 1. All right. Thank you, Liz, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters also for having the forum tonight. I also want to thank all of you for coming tonight and being involved in issues concerning our community. Like so many here, I chose to live in Cottonwood. This is my home and has been for 41 years. I've seen this city come from being a small town with little options, wages and jobs frozen, to a positive growth city able to build reserves, those of which we use during such times as after 9/11 or our current economic slowdown. We have also been able to take advantage of the slow economy and purchase properties to house our city services like the city court and the community development building. I'm very proud of my service to the Cottonwood, on the Cottonwood City Council and to all the committees I have participated in. I was involved with the planning of the library, Riverfront Park, the public safety building, Mingus Extension, acquisition of water companies, and the rec center. I'm currently and have been on the steering committee from the beginning of MatForce, and with the help of forward-thinking council members, we were the first city in the entire state to have over-the-counter drugs involved in making meth taken from off the counter and put behind the counters at the pharmacies where people have to sign for them, and it's made a big difference in our meth problem that we had. I'm involved with water issues, being on the Northern Arizona Municipal Water Users Association, which is NAMWA, and I'm also on the personnel board for the city of Cottonwood. Now with the economy starting to come back, we need to take advantage of the resources we have in Cottonwood to bring in new jobs and expand on the increased tourism we are experiencing. We need to find a way to retain and expand our current businesses and bring in businesses that complement the current businesses that are already here. Old Town is drawing people in, so we need to let people know about the entire city. All we have to offer, families, businesses, recreation, great weather. We need to find a way to hook people once they're here. So either if they're just tourists, they leave their money here and go home, or if they're looking to relocate, we've got homes here. And the one part about the economy, the downturn, is a lot of people lost their homes. Well, now that it's coming back up, it also gives people an opportunity for starter homes or downsizing, because there are vacant homes here and they're not as costly as they were 5 years ago. I see the city as a hub with job opportunities, recreation, shopping, schools, and a great environment with a river running through it. And we really need to work very hard to preserve that river. And we've got a few more streets to finish. 12th Street's in the process of being not evaluated, but we'll be getting started on 12th Street. We just finished the Mingus area. So thank you again for being here.
Okay, Mr. Garrison?
Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Randy Garrison, and I would appreciate your vote for City Council. I am running for the council because I've spent the last 12 years working with the school districts, and as with any organization, it's good to freshen things up once in a while. So it was time for some new voices to enter that table, and I decided it was time for me to see what I could do to work with our local city governance. I have lived here pretty much my entire life. I'm still married to the woman I fell in love with when I was in my early 20s, and we have a daughter that's 14 that has attended the local schools. I graduated Cottonwood Oak Creek, Mingus Union. I've got 2 associate degrees from Yavapai College, and I attended and graduated from the School of Business at NAU. I, as I said, spent 10 years with Cottonwood Oak Creek. 5 of those years I was the board chair. 2 years before that I was on the Mingus Union School Board. I currently serve on the Public Safety Retirement Board for both the Fire Department with the City of Cottonwood and the City of Cottonwood Police Department. I'm on the City of Cottonwood Judicial Review Board and have been since it was conceptualized and brought forward. I'm a founding member and a current board member of the Verde Valley Wine Consortium and also a member of the Old Town Association. I've served on the Cottonwood Economic Development Board for around 10 years, and I was chair for 2 of those. I just recently retired from the Yavapai College Foundation Board, Verde Valley chapter, after serving 6 years on that group. And I attended both the Citizen Academies for the Police Department for the City of Cottonwood and the City of Sedona Police. Currently a certified water operator, have been for over 31 years, and I've kept my certificates current in both distribution and treatment and understand the infrastructures of this city. I'm also self-employed and own my own businesses. I decided to run for council because I felt that there could be some strides made into creating better communication with the residents of the city. And I believe that there's going to be some tough issues facing our budgets in the coming years when it comes to providing the current services that we have available, as well as maintaining the existing facilities that we have built. And I believe that I can be a good voice when it comes to working through those budgetary issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Darrell Smith, and I am running for the City Council, and I'm running on a platform to make a difference in the city of Cottonwood. I want to make a difference in how the citizens are treated before major decisions are made that affect their lives. One of these is the council decision to build a second wastewater treatment plant adjacent to the Verde River in Riverfront Park. I also want to make a difference in how citizens are treated by the City Council before they raise water and sewer rates. I want to make a difference in how the council spends citizens' taxes and how and when to decide to raise taxes. I want to make a difference in how local businesses are treated by the city. I want to make a difference in how the council treats the various problems raising by us running to the local airport. Finally, I want to make a difference on a city council that presently functions as merely a, I feel, rubber stamp for the mayor and city manager. My qualifications are, I will be a needed new voice on the council. I will oppose water rate increases that do not have thorough, accurate study support. I will oppose sewer rate increases without thorough, accurate support. I will listen to businesses in the community. I will demand alternatives to spending huge sums of money on projects such as an unneeded wastewater plant and new city hall. I'm a small businessman of over 40 years, and understand the problems businesses face in a community. I have experience as a former member of the City Council. I have experience as a former member of the Cottonwood Planning and Zoning Commission, and I have life experience also. I've been a citizen of Cottonwood for 12 years. I have spent 20 years in service of our military, and I have, my next Friday is my wife's and I anniversary, 32 years. And I have a family with 10 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. I've been involved in the community in a number of ways, including working with the Clarkdale Verde Kiwanis Club in its efforts to provide needed assistance to needy children. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll get to this question that you were given in advance, and we'll give you 3 minutes to answer. Cottonwood, an independent city, is also an integral part of the Verde Valley as a whole. Please address an important regional issue, such as water, transportation, the economy, or housing, and discuss how Cottonwood could participate in easing or solving that problem. And we'll start with Mr. Garrison.
True. I guess one of the most important issues with the city and how we impact our regional partners would be, in my mind, is going to be economic development, and how we've positioned ourselves through the years as being the economic hub of the Verde Valley, or the commercial hub, or we're the commercial center, and we have, by having that relationship with our communities and having that responsibility, we also have the need to provide for our citizens, as well as manage the relationships with the cities around us. By going after economic development, in one instance would be the wine industry, and how we have pursued going and bringing the wineries into the city, and pursuing agriculture and supporting the different programs in the college in its pursuit of the wine industry. We've brought a whole lot of new money into this area that used to flow between and through us. People would go from Sedona to Jerome and Jerome to Sedona, but they wouldn't stop here and they wouldn't spend their money here. Now they're stopping here and they're spending their money here, and they're leaving taxes, which is a direct benefit to our residents. This facility is one of those results of those taxes that get dropped into our community. And by being responsible and prudent and fiscally responsible with those monies, we can continue to build a better community, a stronger community, and still allow our neighbors to appreciate us being partnered with them. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Pfeiffer?
They all pretty much go hand in hand with the economic development. We do need to work with our business community a lot closer and try to encourage businesses, like I said before, that complement the businesses that are here. There's one, it's not in Cottonwood, but it would give a lot of people jobs if we could do something like build a place next to the cement plant to make cement blocks instead of exporting all that cement out of town. And that would give a lot of people jobs, and it's not a dirty industry. And things like that, where we can build off of what we already have instead of bringing something in that's going to compete with the businesses that are already here. And we need to fill the storefronts. We need to find a way to get businesses, sort of like Old Town did. They have a common bond in Old Town, and it's the wine trail. They've all gotten together, and they do their advertising, and they work together. And it's a little harder for service industry to do that, but if there's some way we could all work together and find a way to, when we get these people going through Cottonwood, to stop at some of these other places to visit and shop, and the antique stores, and pop in on some of the little restaurants that are all around town. That would also help our economy. They're looking to build some out on Bella Montana in the future. We need to keep a really close eye on what goes in out there. I don't think big boxes are the answer. We've had interest already in our little theater. Somebody from California is inquiring with us at the chamber about possibly making digital available there and revamping that theater, which is really great, where we can go to movies right here. So I think if we can work at retaining and expanding our current businesses and also bringing in some that, like I said, would complement the ones that are here, it would help our economy, and with that comes our transit. We see a lot of need for our transit system, and with working with Sedona, we've got the round trips to Sedona now, back and forth, and all of that all revolves around how much water we've got. And on the water committee, we're working with the state and other like NAMWA, and there's all kinds of WAWAs. I don't know all the acronyms for them right now, but there's NAMWA and COCOWA or whatever, and all of those. We're all working together on water augmentation. So I think that all of those questions they're all just sort of centered around how we monitor and how we develop our natural resources.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you. The challenges I see ahead for the city of Cottonwood, excuse me, is, again, but Mr. Garrison and Mrs. Pfeiffer said the same thing, how to attract and maintain voters or visitors. That's a big thing. And we need to maintain a city whose only revenue is sales tax. And that's tough because that's all we have here is the sales tax. And how to maintain an adequate water supply for now and in the future. Because that, again, is the reason why the Verde Valley's been named, one of the 10 most visited places in the United States. But how to improve the sewer system, the water system, and the streets and roads. That's a big thing here. And we have to watch how we're spending the money, where it's going to go. We also how to maintain the beauty of the Verde River, which flows through the city, and Mr. Alinsky stated that pretty much in his opening statements. Cottonwood's role in the region is to provide high-quality goods and services, and it also acts as a model for the other communities in the region. Presently, when I was on the planning and zoning on the city council, we were looking at the slag pile over here in Cottonwood, and I was instrumental in getting that committed to, when that's being removed, getting 50 cents a ton off that as they sold that, simply because of the fact that they were bringing big trucks in, and they were, run down the streets. I stutter on that sometimes. But run down the, we're really heavy on the streets. Also, the other thing I really want to look at is the lease we have with the airport. And I'd like to go into that more. That airport is 65 acres out there that certainly can be developed very easily, but it's leased out for 1 penny per square foot per acre for 99 years, or if it's developed, $434 for an acre if it's developed. And the only thing it's supposed to be for businesses. Well, he's got a storage locker, and he's got an RV center out there. He employs one person or two people, and that's it. And it was not meant to be that. And I'd like to see the city try to get that property back, unless it is developed properly. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to take questions from the audience, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer each of these. Cards have been distributed for you to write down your questions. If you need them, Robin is coming around with cards now. It's possible that your exact question might not be asked. If there's several questions on the same subject, I'll try to group them together and give us some time to cover more subjects. Also remember that all candidates will be offered an opportunity to answer each question. So the first one is going to Karen, and it is, if elected, what will be your first priority?
My first priority would be to continue with the programs that we've got going now. We've got a lot of studies out there, and continue to work with our Chamber of Commerce. I do work there part-time, and I see these people that are coming in through the Chamber for relocation. We get at least 2 or 3 a day that want to relocation packet, and to help guide people to the services that they need here in the city of Cottonwood. We need to continue to work with Old Town and remember that Cottonwood doesn't stop at the Old Town limits. There's more of Cottonwood. We need to work with the businesses, like I said before, to retain. There's so many fingers out there right now that we're working on. It's hard to take just one little thing and say that that's what I'm going to work on, because the minute you think you're going to work on that on a certain day, something else crops up and you get diverted into that other, and you sort of have to learn how to prioritize. So I just want to continue to see the city moving forward and not backward.
Thank you. Randall?
If I get on the council, I guess my first priority would be get my hands around the budget and understand the budgetary issues that are going to be facing the city. I had the opportunity to attend the council forum a month or so ago and got to watch a nice presentation of a rundown of all the capital projects that have this city has put forward and pursued and in most cases finished over the last 5 years, as well as a list of projects going forward, 12th Street, 10th Street, the sewer reclamation plant down by the river, and the possibility of building a new town hall. And I'm really kind of concerned because the list of needs and the expenses to take care of our existing facilities was quite a bit higher than what I had thought they would be. And there wasn't really a whole lot of conversation at the table on how this was going to be paid for and how we were going to take care of those debts, other than there was talk of combining future bonds and going after more bonds and raising water and sewer rates and the possibility of implementing a property tax. All of those, I think, are not necessarily prudent or in the best interest of the citizens. I think we need to figure out how to accommodate the expenses we have, finish the projects we've started, and take care of moving forward with the needs of the community without impacting the residents any further than we already have.
Thank you. Gerald?
Well, of course, Mr. Garrison and I pretty much think alike on this, is the budget, is how the city is spending the money. And you ask where the money goes, and you're told, well, it's here or there, and it's very, very difficult to get an arm's length around the budget. For instance, in 1987, the city put a 1-cent sales tax, or a tax on the sewer system. And that tax, the people voted on that tax simply to put water money for the system, and it was supposed to be dedicated for that sewer system. Well, the problem is, and that was what the people thought. The problem was, as we all know, once you put a tax on, it's invariably impossible to get it off. So in 2007, the city, that 1 cent sales or on water sewer expired, sunset. Well, what did the city do? The city took that, there was approximately $10 million, and shifted it over to capital improvement. And now there's approximately $3 million left, and the money is being spent just wherever the city, or rather, the departments decide they will spend the money. And I don't like that at all. I want to take a real hard look at how we're spending the money. The other part is, again, the airport. The airport is a very necessary draw for this city. It's a huge potential for income over there, but this city council simply ignored it. And that's what I want to do. I want to get this back on track. I do not want to just okay everything. Staff comes and says, gee, that's fine, whatever it may be. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with Randall this time, and the question is, we have seen good commercial growth in Old Town. What kind of redevelopment would you like to see for some of the commercial areas, such as the Food City shopping area, which is half empty?
Yeah, more than half empty. And then we've got the old Pro Build right next to it. That's a huge waste of a great commercial opportunity for this town. I don't know. I don't know what we do. I think we have an issue with commercial development and how to fill those storefronts, but that's kind of a supply and demand issue. We've lost a lot of residents. We've lost a lot of children in this community. We've lost a lot of jobs. So the community has gone from being a job producer as far as the construction industry to being a service provider. And the services that are here are currently taking care of the people in the city. I tend to think more than an issue with our commercial lack of use is the lack of readily, I guess, responsible use of our industrial property. We have a lot of industrial property in this town that isn't being utilized. As the mayor said, there's a lot of things that could be brought in this town that are clean industry, that would provide jobs that aren't just service jobs. They're jobs that pay engineer wages, that pay mechanics wages, that pay machinist wages. There's that bring in a more educated crowd and would actually bolster the economics of the area instead of just continuing to bring in more restaurants and bars that just provide service. So I'd love to see the use of those empty storefronts. I'd love to see them pick up. It's been great to watch Old Town come around and grow, and now there's people fighting over storefronts down there because we've got traffic, we've got a need for it, and people realize that there's an income to be made. So we have to figure out how to bolster the economic development of the community, and those storefronts will fill on their own. I'd like to see us pursue more industrial growth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen?
Would you repeat it?
We have seen good commercial growth in Old Town. What kind of redevelopment would you like to see for some of the commercial areas, such as the Food City Shopping Center, which is half empty?
The longer they stay vacant, the more in disarray they do become. So we need to work as fast as we can to encourage people to come to Cottonwood. We do have a lot of the relocation people that are inquiring on the computer in the city of Cottonwood and through the chamber. They're asking what kind of a hospital we have, what kind of recreation do we have, what do we have for the children, and what kinds of schools are they, and is it safe, and the crime rate. So as long as we can continue to work on what we do, like with Matt Force and keeping the crime rate down some, and the schools are improving daily. We just need to give people some reason to come here and start a business or raise a family or a vacation here. We had a lady the other day that called me at home and said she had family here 2 years ago, and they were in a little teeny restaurant in Old Town Cottonwood, and she wanted to know the name of it. And I asked her where she got my name. She said, well, another friend of hers had been out here and she knew my family. So it's little things like that, and the word gets around, like the Lonely Planet designation, and the more that we can encourage people to clean up their yards. I live in old Smelter City, and we've gone from a lot of rental homes to privately, the people have bought them, and they've improved them. The neighborhoods are coming up. The neighborhoods are safer. There's not that many rentals in my area. They're cleaning the yards, and we need to continue to improve the looks of Cottonwood, the jobs in Cottonwood, and it will come. It is coming. It's just slow coming, but we're in better shape than a lot of communities without a recreation center and a great hospital.
Thank you. Darrell?
Yes, thank you. One of the big things that I have to bring industry into this town, the city has quite a bit of property. And again, I have to go back to the airport property over there, that's 65 acres that was leased out for 99 years. And I still am of the attitude, and I've talked to some people, because of the fact that that property has never been developed by who we've leased it to, we could possibly get it back. That would be an important thing. There was a lot of industry over there that could go in there. Also, our airport here, I've talked to a lot of the pilots over there, and they have stated that, look, the airport it's a mile long, and it's 1 mile to the world, whereas granted, Old Town is a beautiful place, it's growing and everything. It's a mile long, roughly a mile long. But the airport can bring in CEOs, it can bring in people for industry, it's bringing in medical, it's bringing in lots of things, but we have to get them to stay here. Presently, people are leaving the airport because it's been ignored. And that's an important thing. People are moving out. We don't have what we call an FBO over there. Presently, we're trying to get one. You talk to the pilots and those people over there, and they're extremely unhappy. We also, at one time, I recommended we try to get out in Bella, Montana, talk to Costco. I even talked to Costco. I knew some people at real estate in Costco to get a Costco store in here because I'm driving a 100-mile round trip to go to Costco. Costco is a huge revenue driver. It's just like, it's, you know, good competition for Walmart. Some of that stuff, Old Town is growing, and I like it a lot, but it's not enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen, we'll go to you. Have you heard about the proposed changes in how sales tax, construction tax, which would be collected at the point of purchase of materials, and what do you think about the proposed change?
Personally, I don't like the proposed change because we no longer have building supplies except for Home Depot in Cottonwood. The builders are going to Sedona, and their tax dollars are being spent in Sedona, and growth has to pay for itself. And by the tax dollars in Sedona for the building materials, they're coming here and building the homes where we're not getting any of the revenue from that. So, and even when we had just ProBuild here, they were still going to Sedona. My son-in-law's in construction, and this is what he was telling me anyway, that they had better product up there, straighter boards, better mortar, whatever, and he would travel to Sedona and buy his materials and come back here and use them back here. So I can't see where buying materials in Flagstaff and Sedona is going to benefit the citizens of Cottonwood and help with our roads and all with the sales tax and the impact fees and all of that. So I really do think that we need to continue on the track we are right now with the fees.
Gerald?
Yes, and I also disagree with what the legislature is trying to do, simply because of the fact that it would be a huge loss to the city if the sales tax is not collected at point of sales as like Home Depot. For instance, if we've got a lot of home construction that can be going on here, and it will continue. But now, if the builder says, look, you've got this tax here, I'm going to ship it in from Louisiana, where there's no sales tax or virtually no sales tax, we don't get a cent. It's a huge loss to the community. And I know the legislature is some people down there are trying to push that through. And also the legislatures, some of the mayors, as a matter of fact, the mayors, I think a lot of the mayors got together and said it would be devastating to their cities. So yes, I'm definitely against it, and if it were ever to come to a vote, I would certainly, be voting against that. But you have to keep that revenue in the cities, or the cities are just devastated. Thank you.
Randall?
This is kind of a tough one. You start talking about taxes and collecting taxes. I think it's important that every community sets its own destiny and is in charge of its own path. And this attempt with the legislature is, well, it's an attempt to end run that. It's an attempt to overrule what we've done as a community. Cottonwood has put a lot of money, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy into becoming the commercial center of this area. The citizens of this town have been impacted by having commercial and industry in this town, and we should profit from those strides that we've made to grow this town as an economic and commercial center for the area. And to give up those monies isn't fair. It should be spent and collected where it's collected. It should be allowed, we should be allowed to have that money without it going to the other communities, because we put the effort out in order to grow the economy to collect it in the first place. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay, we'll stick with you. What do you anticipate the issues are for improving 12th Street to handle more traffic?
Who is that to?
12th Street, I grew up on 12th Street. I rode my skateboard on 12th Street when it was dirt. That road has always been a high-traffic corridor for this city, and it's just gotten worse through the years. We have a lot of driveways, a lot of houses that back onto that. There's been a ton of development with some care facilities and subdivisions that are now dumped directly out onto that road. And then with the undulating terrain, you know, the traffic issues are harsh, and we really need to work on that. That should have been a priority years ago. The road is just falling apart, and the only positive to that is the road is so bad that you can't speed too fast without worrying about your suspension falling off. So the shape of the road has helped that, but you know, it's become a speedway, it's become a dangerous corridor. We need to fix it, we need to make it right, and it really should be one of the top priorities when we're putting money into the streets in this city.
Thank you. Karen?
We've been working on 12th Street, it seems like 20 years, trying to get something done with it. We finally have the funding, and we've got most of the right-of-ways. I think the APS was holding us up on the last easement, and I believe, from what I understand a couple weeks ago, that finally got cleared up. We desperately need a street improvement, replacement actually, on 12th Street. It's going to have bicycle lanes, which are much needed, and it's going to have sidewalks on both sides. And when we had the public hearing and had all the different designs out, it was amazing how many people wanted the speed limit to go up to 35. And then there was a couple of them that wanted it to stay at 25, and then our chief of police said, well, it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to go 10 miles over, and we're going to give them tickets. But if you have, it's really hard for a lot of people, from what I understand, going 25 miles an hour on this new Mingus highway. They're being stopped and warned and ticketed for that right now, because it's a nice street with sidewalks on both sides. We need it. We need it for the safety of our citizens. We need it for the children that go back and forth. And I can't wait till we get started. It should be soon. They should be digging up the road. They're going to do one half of it, and then they'll do the other half right after that. But it's going to be done, and it should be done before the end of I believe, middle of next year, for the total street to be finished. And the money's there. We just had to wait and get the easements and the right-of-ways.
Thank you.
Yes, 12th Street, again, it is a terrible street right now. I guess what I don't understand is it's been, I know 5 years, a total of 5 years, they've been trying to get this thing going. And for whatever reason the delays are, I'm told that, well, we have a problem with getting right-of-ways, then we have a problem with getting easements, and we have a problem with this and a problem with that, and one thing after another. And I be honest with you, I don't understand what the delay is. But as Ms. Pfeiffer said, it's not going to be finished until, 2014. And I just, I haven't heard any serious inquiries into staff of why this hasn't been done faster. We have the money, and why isn't it? They say, well, it's a holdup for this or a holdup for that, but I haven't had an adequate explanation, and I've asked several times. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back to Karen. How would you improve access to the Verde River for the general public for recreational activities like walking, boating, and bird watching?
How would I improve? Well, when I first came here, when the dinosaurs roamed, we had free access all along the Verde River, but now we have private property rights. And these people that own the properties along the Verde River don't want people tromping along them. They're working on part of it around the jail trail and different places in Old Town, and it's really hard without interfering with people's personal property rights. We could try buying some up. That's not going to work because they're not going to give it up. And maybe working with some of the private property owners, we could get some access to it. There's a lot of Verde River in the city limits of Cottonwood, but then there's a lot of Verde River that are just outside, like on Rocking Chair Road and all, that outside the city limits. So we just have to find a way to work with the private property owners and see if there's paths or something, because I used to play on the Verde River with my kids, and to get down there right now, even at the Mingus Extension, there's fences up, and without climbing the fences or tromping on other people's flowers and private property, it's going to be difficult, but they are looking at it. The trail system through Clarkdale, Clarkdale, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, they are all working together trying to find a way to have more access to the public on the Verde River. So it's going to be a joint effort with the different communities to get this accomplished.
Thank you. Gerald?
Yes, I'm familiar with the Verde River Land Preservation, and I think most of us here are. They're doing everything they can also to help get access to the river, preserve areas along the river, and do that. Now, I know they've got some Walmart grants that they are working with, and yes, I know from Riverfront Park, you have a way to get down there, and from the jail also. What I feel that can be done is, as time goes by, and it takes time on something like that, and again, the property owners, they don't particularly care, and I wouldn't particularly care to have somebody walking in my backyard either. But it is a huge draw, and I think that if we adequately do it, and we've been doing a pretty good job, and I will admit that, and it's so they're doing the best they can for it. And that's really about what I see we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Gerald,
How about
or
Randy?
we'll go to Randall.
If I remember the question correctly, I don't know that we have an access issue with the river. I think we have a problem getting to the access points of the river. We have a great jail trail. The parking lot across, if you call it a parking lot, the dirt lot across the street from my office in Old Town is constantly packed with people that are accessing that trail. We get a lot of people that utilize the streets in Old Town to park to get access to that trail, as well as park at the Riverfront Park and access in. I think we just need to work on creating better parking for people to utilize the trailheads and the access points that we already have. I don't know that we need to worry about buying up or opening up more access points than we currently have. We have plenty of access to the river. We just need to make it more readily available to those that want to use those access points.
Thank you. Okay, I'll start with Gerald this time. What is the source of potable water for the Vista, Montana proposed development? What requirements is Cottonwood implementing to protect groundwater and the Verde River?
The potable water for Bella, Montana, there are wells over in that area. I do know that for a fact because of the fact that the golf course over there has got a fairly deep well. The big problem I see over in that area, though, for potable water is that when they put the water in at the golf course, and Mr. Randall or Garrison could answer that better than I can. I know they drew so much water out that they were running down. They had to dig the wells deeper. There is a problem over there. There's no question. I know across 89A over by the church, they had to drill a well over there and run it all the way over to the golf course. As far as the rest of the question, it was how we're going to protect that.
That's really a good question. Again, protect that water in that whole area is going to be difficult because of the fact that as we draw it down, it's going to cause deeper wells. We have to do some way to preserve or get that water reclaimed. And that's what we have to do. I know we're talking about a small reclamation plant over there, and that would be very important for that whole area over there. And then we would possibly get from the, the golf course, they have their own wastewater plant over there. I don't know whether we could tap into that or not, but I certainly wouldn't want to be buying it. But I think that's about all I can say on that right now without more study on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rachel?
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. What is the source of potable water for the Vista, Montana proposed development? What requirements is Cottonwood implementing to protect groundwater and the Verde River?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know where they're going to get their water. Obviously, they're going to have to drill for it because we don't have surface water rights. So it'll be wells, where those wells are placed, how they impact the wells in the neighboring area and the neighboring community. I have no idea. That's up to the people who sit down with the city and figure out how to provide those services. I think our role is going to be to work with that developer and those engineers to figure out how to provide that service out there without impacting the neighboring wells and the neighboring communities, and to do it in a manner that is sustainable. We have much better uses now and technology now. The proposed riverfront reclamation plant that the city's looking at down here is one example of how once we have the water, we can take and reuse it and make it go farther. So we stretch that water a little farther, whereby we pull less out of the ground. But no matter how you do it, you bring houses in, you're going to have an impact. You have to drill a well. So it's going to be working with those developers to mitigate those impacts as much as possible and still provide the services in a sustainable manner.
Thank you. Karen?
Well, one thing we won't do over there is drill individual wells like the Verde Villages have now. They're going to implement the purple pipe. They're going to have the reclamation plant similar to what we're talking about at Riverfront Park that takes out pharmaceuticals. So they're also going and talking with Tom Whitmer this morning. He was telling me that they're going to have injection wells there, and they'll have them deep enough to where they actually get down into the aquifer and they replenish the water being drawn out. So our bank of water just sort of stays level. We'll be putting a lot back into the system, and almost as much as we're drawing out. All of the irrigation or watering or common areas out there will be reclaimed water. They're doing everything they can to preserve what water table we do have. I don't know exactly where the wells are out there, but I understand there are some sufficient wells. But like Mr. Garrison said, you've got to be careful not to impact the people downstream and make sure that it's not going to bother their water table also. So we need to protect it, but the answer is the reclamation plants in these new, and that the states are going to start making, or the government's going to start making communities have smaller sewer plant reclamation plants, because it's the wave of the future, because we can take all the pharmaceuticals and all of the medications and everything out of the water where it can be reused.
Thank you. Let's start with Randall. What criteria do you think should be used for spending proposals?
Well, obviously, having a budget that allow for it would be number one. It's great to want, it's great to provide things for your community, but you have to do it in a manner that you can afford. One example is we're sitting in this wonderful facility. It's been a great economic driver for the area. It's been a great resource for the children and the adults and the citizens of this area, not only the citizens of Cottonwood, but of the entire valley. But it's being done at a huge cost to the citizens. A cost that I don't think people realized was going to impact them as much as it is now. This facility costs the city about $3.1 million a year, and it's currently bringing in about $460,000 a year. So we're at a negative $2.5 million providing this facility for the citizens of this community. That isn't the way it worked out on paper. Before it was built, that wasn't what was pushed to the citizens when they approved the tax to build this. But unfortunately, we're stuck with the reality of the situation. So we have to do a better job of figuring out how to make this facility become more capable of paying for itself instead of impacting the town in other ways. And the same will go with everything we do moving forward. We're going to have to do a little better job of understanding the impacts and the costs associated with the projects that we undertake before we actually undertake them.
Thank you. Karen?
We have to put items in the budget just in case, not just projected items in the budget, some of our capital expenses and all. We don't always spend it, but it's in the budget in case it has to be used for that capital expense. So there are things in the budget that sort of build it up, but just it's in case we have to use it, and that project goes through that year. So if we plan on it, say in 2014, and it doesn't get started till 2015, it's in the budget in case something happens and we can get started on it sooner. So the budgets are really a little bit difficult if you're sitting there going line for line on them. And the city knew when they built this, when it did go out to the voters, recreation centers don't make money. They don't pay for themselves. It's a service that we offer the citizens of Cottonwood. I doubt Riverfront Park pays for itself. I don't think that the fairgrounds pays for itself. Recreational opportunities are pluses that our citizens have asked for. They ask for this recreation center, and they don't always pay for themselves. Very few pay for themselves. So we have a finance director that's very strict, and we don't just arbitrarily go out and spend the money. It's in the budget to be spent. The budget sessions are open to the public, and we do take comments. And contrary to what I've heard tonight, we do pay attention to what people are saying and the way that people want us to spend their money and take care of their resources.
Thank you.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What criteria do you think should be used for spending proposals?
What criteria?
Yes.
Yes. Well, number one, it depends on the size of the project. For instance, Riverfront Park down there. Well, let's take this example here. This building here, it went to vote for the people, and the people voted for it. You take the Riverfront Park, though, they're talking someplace between, they had one bid for $15 million. The city says they can do it for $8 million. Well, $8 million, the citizens are not given a vote on that at all, whether they want to put one down there and how. This is, I think, is wrong. We should have a vote on that. And I'm told that, well, the citizens, I mentioned I didn't think the citizens would vote yes for it, and I was told, well, I think they would. But the thing is, the citizens have never gotten an opportunity to vote for it. Any major project like this, you're talking about huge dollars, $8, $10 million, whatever. I firmly believe the citizens should have a lot more impact on it. If it doesn't go to a vote, then that's, you know, the people, they either have to go to the meetings on it, or it's going to be, unfortunately, up to the city council to say, hey, look, let's do some more questions on this. Let's get to the bottom of what's going on. How much is this really going to cost? How is it going to be paid for? And there's a lot of things that I was at the strategic meeting also, and they outlined huge projects. But my question is, how are these projects going to be paid for? All we are here is a city sales tax. And at some point in time, Mr. Rodriguez was talking, about the business tax for about the businesses, how they raised them. And he said, you know, it's better than putting a property tax on. Well, are we hinting about a property tax? I'll guarantee you that if that comes up, the citizens won't vote that in. So we have to take a real hard look at where we're spending the money, and when we talk about criteria, exactly what the criteria is and how it's done. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back to Karen, and we'll go to something a little different this time. There is a growing number of people who believe Cottonwood and the entire Verde Valley are on the verge of a huge Christian revival. Are you connected with or open to meeting with the spiritual leaders of Cottonwood?
Geez, I haven't heard that yet. That's a first for me.
I thought I'd mix things up a little.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have any opposition to meeting with religious leaders. It's a pretty known fact. I'm Catholic. I go to the Catholic Church out there, and I'm very proud of it. I work with people that are Southern Baptist, and I work with Jehovah's Witnesses and different organizations. That's a person's personal, private. And if they want to make it public, that's fine. And I've seen at two of the churches now, the Baptist church and the Catholic, and I believe that one in Sedona, they all got together and they had a concert. And it was wonderful listening to the different points of view. So I'm not opposed to it at all, and I'm glad that people aren't saying, you're Catholic, you can't go to this church because I'm Southern Baptist, and the other way around. Years and years ago, I saw that. And I've seen these churches in the area realize that everybody has a right to their belief, but there's no reason why we can't listen to somebody else's belief and all get along and pull it together, because we're all created by, as far as I'm concerned, by the same Creator. And I just think it's wonderful the way some of these churches in the area are pulling together. I don't know about a revival, but it's great to be able to sit down to the table with different people and different beliefs and listen to them. You don't always have to be talking. Sometimes you'll learn an awful lot by listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Gerald?
Yes, yeah, I'm more than willing to listen and meet with any of the spiritual leaders. Yeah, I have no problem with that. And it's perfectly okay, and I'll listen to them and just listen to them. And if they're asked for comments, whatever, that's fine. My granddaughter was out here, and I went to several different churches with her, and it was quite interesting, the different perspectives. I'm very personal with what I believe, and that's the way it should be. I don't think any public figure, personally, should be questioned about their belief, how they believe. But I am certainly willing to sit down with any of the community leaders and talk with them, and I've done it before when we were talking about, trying to get something done about the homeless people. And that was, we had the Boy Scouts, and we had several different areas that people came to and said, look, this is what we would like to do. I know a lot of churches have, they have food banks, and I think that's wonderful, and that's the way it should be. The churches do help the community, and they stabilize the community. Thank you.
Okay, Rachel?
Can you repeat the question again?
Sure. There are a growing number of people who believe Cottonwood and the entire Verde Valley are on the verge of a huge Christian revival. Are you connected with or open to meeting with the spiritual leaders of Cottonwood?
Wow. Religion. As a city council member, I don't like the idea of government being involved with religion. Religion is a community unto itself, and it's a group of communities within our greater community. I have no issues with the churches. I think, as Ms. Pfeiffer said, I think the churches have done a spectacular job of getting along. They do a lot of interaction with each other. They exist within this community, and they actually are big supporters of the different projects we have going and of the things that we're working on. But I don't know that as a city governing body, we should have anything to do with the churches or how we impact them or they impact us. You know, that there's a separation there that, as a council member, I don't know that I want to get in the middle of. So I support the churches doing their thing. I recently got to go through the, meet with the minister and his wife and get a tour of the old Phelps Trust plant. And the job they're doing in that building is absolutely tremendous, what they're doing and what they're bringing in for opportunities for the youth. They're building a great recording studio and a music studio inside that building. They're building a big spiritual hall that'll be able to be used for weddings and large convention events. They've taken a property that has sat vacant and empty and turned it into something that's going to be great and useful before it got run down and became a blight on the neighborhood. So I think it's great what they're doing, and I support what the churches do and how they support the community. But as far as the city having anything to do with it, I'd rather see the city stay hands off.
Thank you. Next one I'll send to Daryl, and this is kind of specific. Remington Arms is looking to move from a small community in Connecticut to another state, including Arizona. Do you believe that Cottonwood, primarily a retirement community, should remain as such, or do you believe Cottonwood should take action to bring such an industry as Remington Arms to Cottonwood? If so, what action is required to entice them to move here?
Remington Arms, you say?
Yes.
You know, I'll be honest with you, all I know about them is what they sell a lot of guns and everything, and they're a big industry. Now, if they're thinking about moving here and moving to Cottonwood, I don't know how big a plant they would need or anything else. I certainly would not object. I'd have to see, as a council member, I'd have to take a look at exactly what kind, you know, how many people they would hire, where they would locate at here, and how that would be. I am, you know, the Second Amendment comes into play. There's a lot of people saying, hey, you can't have guns, and et cetera, and that's the way they feel. But I don't really know if I would care to have them here in the city. That would take a lot of debate, a lot of thinking on that, a lot of ifs and ands, and I'd really have to get a lot of information from a lot of the citizens here to say, hey, do we want a plant like this here? And they, tax reasons, I don't know. I just don't know if I would say yes or no right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Randall?
I'm not so sure Remington would be a good fit for this community. It's hardcore industry. It requires a foundry. It requires steel yard. It requires it's a dirty industry. Ruger was over in Prescott, and they were very large, and it got to the point where they could no longer compete in the manner they were, and they shipped their jobs out of state, and they left a huge void and a huge empty building on that community that community had to turn around and deal with. And luckily, after years of sitting empty, the Yavapai College went in, purchased that building, and turned it into a great educational opportunity for the technology students of the college and of the community. But I would rather see us pursue medical technology and medical industries. We have a great hospital here. We've become the medical hub of the area. It's bringing a lot of those services and those needs in. That brings in high-paying jobs, high-paying salaries. It brings in educated people, and it becomes a medical incubator for other services and other service providers. So I'd rather see us pursue something like the medical industry than a hardcore founder. So.
Okay. Karen?
I agree with both gentlemen. I don't see it being a good fit for Cottonwood. We would probably end up with another large empty building. I prefer businesses similar to what Molden Graphics is in Clarkdale. It's a little bit smaller. It's a nice building. It pays well, and it's not an overwhelming, huge monstrosity sitting up on the top of a mountain that's going to become vacant. And I believe Foundry also requires a lot of water, So it's a large water user, and I really don't think we should pursue large water users just for the money or the jobs or for any reason. We've got to protect our water. That's not protecting it and being good stewards of the land and the water and the air. So I really don't see it as a good fit for our area.
Okay, I'll go to Randall. Are there any decisions of the current city council that you think have been made wrong?
Wrong?
Yep. Or could have been made better?
I guess I can't say wrong. I think the path we're going down right now with the sewer reclamation plant down Riverfront isn't necessarily the best decision at the moment. I don't necessarily disagree with the purpose or the intent of the plant. I like the idea of creating a water source at the point of use and the opportunities that allow us to take in and create more green space down in that area. But regardless of how it's built and how it's installed, it's going to still require some infrastructure changes to the system that it was intended to replace or displace. And so it's not a cure-all. It's still going to cause an impact to the rest of the system that would happen either way. So I'm not so sure that that's the best use of the city's money at the moment. And I'm just a little concerned at all the different capital projects that we have going and how we're planning on paying for those. So I don't know that there's a single decision that I think the city's made poorly. I think the city's done a great job. They've done a wonderful job on sponsoring the wine industry here and becoming a travel destination. But I'm a little concerned with some of the future projects going forward and how we're going to pay with some of the ones that we're currently doing.
Thank you. Karen?
We keep hitting on this reclamation plant. This is not something that the council's jumped in with both feet. We've rejected the $15 million. We've told the new consultants that we've hired that if they can't come in at budget or under budget, don't bother to come back and visit with us. It's not something that we're going to immediately do, and the fact that, talking with Tom again this morning, the injection wells are going to give us bargaining power with Salt River after the adjudication, whichever way it goes. We need some bargaining power with Salt River, and it's going to build that water portfolio. It's going to give us the bargaining power down there. I don't see that as being done immediately. It's something that we're studying. The capital projects that Mr. Garrison mentions, those are things that our citizens have come to us and told us, what about? We put them on there. We're forward-thinking council. We are knowing where we've been in the past is helping us get to the future. And if we weren't futuristically thinking, this rec center wouldn't be here. The pool would be gone because it was so old and dilapidated that we couldn't hardly revamp it enough to entice people to come swim in it. For me, anyway. It's outside. People with skin problems have a problem swimming outside. We try to think out of the box and think toward the future, what we've got on that capital plan. We've had a lot of that on there for an awful long time. It doesn't mean we're going to jump right into it and we're going to do everything that's on that 5-year plan or think 10 years ahead. We have to think ahead, though. My granddaughter called me the other day. She said she doesn't live in the city, but she wanted to thank me for having the rec center, Mingus Extension, and she names all these little things that she didn't have when she was growing up here in Cottonwood, that her children can participate in. And that's why I think that we've made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but we've learned from them also.
Thank you. Darrell?
Thanks. As far as real mistakes, no. I haven't really looked at it. What I have is I don't think there's been enough study on items. Again, we'll talk about the riverfront reclamation plan. We were told originally that, we had to have that because if we didn't, we'd have to pay about $3 million to replace lines up to the Mingus plant. Well, if you study the plans and the ones by Kuhn and Van Loo, they're still going to have to be replaced for $3 million, and I haven't heard anybody say anything about that.
So it's not a mistake. I don't think enough study has been put into it, enough questions asked about it, and gone outside to outside experts. We keep going with one particular engineer, which is fine, and I'm sure he's well qualified, but I think we should go out. The other part about it is, yes, I agree. We are forward-looking. We have to be. You know, again, I get to the other areas too. The airport, some of the industry, we need bringing in here. The slag pile, I'm looking forward to that when that starts moving on. And also the industry over in Clarkdale. When it comes through here, it's going to be helping us. So yeah, it is a, the study, I just don't think it's been enough on some of these items, you know, and that's the way I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one final question, and I guess being the only incumbent here tonight, this will go to you, Karen. How have you and council promoted jobs in Cottonwood? What have you done to promote better communications with citizens as to their needs? And what have you done for small businesses?
Okay, one more time.
I could do these one at a time if you want.
That would be great.
How have you and council promoted jobs in Cottonwood?
Promoted jobs in Cottonwood. Well, we've promoted jobs by helping the small businesses. Actually, we haven't put a lot of money into Old Town or the wine trail or any of that. We've encouraged, and with the help of Lana Tollison at the Chamber and Doug Bartosh at the city, they've got the wine trail going. We have really helped Old Town, not so much monetarily, but in support, and it's blooming, it's blossoming, it's the jewel of right now of Cottonwood. And by doing so, other businesses, I notice, are spiffing up theirs, and they're changing things up. They're not doing business as usual because they've seen Old Town has been a roller coaster, up and down and back and forth, almost gone, and now it's back. And now I think it's here to stay because of the community effort. It hasn't been just Old Town, it hasn't been just the Chamber, it hasn't been just the council. It's been the whole community working together and promoting this, and other businesses have seen what can be done. You can rise out of the ashes. You can change things up with your business and make it better, which means better jobs and more jobs if we can retain and expand.
And the second part was, what have you done to promote better communications with citizens as to their needs?
Well, my phone number's been in the book the whole time I've been on the council. My address is in the book. We're on the website. I encourage citizens, whenever I talk to them, don't necessarily go to the council meetings, go to the work sessions. You can get involved in the work sessions. You can tell us what you want. You can tell us what you don't want. That's one forum that not too many people utilize, and I wish they would, because there are decisions made that sometimes if we had a little bit more input, I do listen. I'm not going to say we, I'm not in anybody's pocket. I'm not a rubber stamp. I am not timid. I'm not afraid to say what I think, and I'm not afraid to make hard decisions, and I'm not afraid to ask hard questions. But we need to actually hear, not from one or two or three different people. I'd like to hear a broad spectrum of things. Sometimes we get the same question hammered over and over and over, and it doesn't really give a good perspective of the problem, or the solution. I'd like to see more solutions. We don't have all the answers. We have staff, we have qualified staff, but we don't have all the answers.
Okay, thanks. I think now we can go to our closing statements. You have up to 3 minutes if you'd like. Let us start with Gerald.
Well, first of all, I would like to, I'm sorry?
Do they answer the questions I just answered?
Well, they sounded like they'd be more appropriate for an incumbent, but if
Okay.
you would like to answer them, go ahead.
Good answer.
Go ahead, just start with you.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to be fair.
Yeah,
no.
thanks.
Oh, well, in closing, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to attend this forum. I believe that the citizens of Cottonwood have got a real choice in this election. They may vote to retain the current incumbents who
pretty much follow exactly what the mayor and the city council, or the city manager want. They may retain the current incumbents who seldom listen to the electorate and spend taxpayers' money foolishly, which I firmly believe is happening. Or they may select me. I will not be a rubber stamp in any way, shape, or form. I will work to involve the local community in all major decisions, and I will encourage fair treatment of all the businesses and greater development of the airport. That's what it is, and I believe in people, and I believe that this community deserves a change on the council. Somebody that will ask more questions, somebody that simply studies what is going on and studies it in depth. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to address this last question?
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay.
I would like to say, and I agree with Ms. Pfeiffer, that the town, I think, has done an absolutely tremendous job in supporting and growing our Old Town area, and we're very business friendly. We have neighboring communities who aren't so business friendly, and we've taken advantage of that, and we've brought a lot of good businesses in. The sponsoring and the assistance that the Economic Development Council and the Chamber have provided to growing Old Town and making it a destination driver for the whole area has done nothing but grow the rest of our community. We're bringing in jobs, we're bringing in more restaurants, we're bringing in more hotels, we're bringing in everything that's needed to supply the goods that the people coming to that area are going to utilize before they leave our town. So I think the town's done a tremendous job working with the local businesses to grow those areas. I think there's always room for improvement and ways to make things better. I'm not necessarily in favor of this last impact they put on the businesses with the business license fees, especially without a lot better communication with the public on how they were going to do that. I'm not a big proponent of charging people fees in order to charge them or collect money from them also. We upped the cost of doing business in this town and put a bigger burden on the people who are actually bringing those taxes into our coffers that pay for facilities such as this. So I'm not necessarily sure that just because a community that surrounds us has raised their fees that we necessarily have to do the same thing. We should be supporting those businesses in a manner that allows them to grow and allows them to do it without them being encumbered any worse than they already have. The economy's been bad enough on everybody these last few years. As far as communicating with the citizens, I think we had the same problem with the school districts. It's very difficult to communicate with citizens. They have to want to hear, for one, and typically they only want to hear when there's an issue that upsets them. And so we have to figure out a better way of putting that word out to those citizens so that they understand the issues that are in front of them. And I think we also have to do a better job as a council and as a community on listening to what the citizens in the area are saying instead of just telling them what we're going to do to them or with them. We really need to sponsor or be more open to allowing them to express their feelings in meetings and bring that view to the board. Ever since the article came out about this, the budget impact of what's this tax, changing everything back to 1987, our budget.
The home rule.
The home rule. I think the town has done a very poor job on relating that to the citizens. The town manager and the mayor went to Cottonwood Ranch the other day, put on a tremendous presentation, explained it. It was very well received. People understood what was happening, but my phone's ringing off the hook because the people that weren't at Cottonwood Ranch didn't get that presentation, don't understand how that's going to impact this community. And if it isn't presented better, it's being perceived as a future tax or a future impact on this community, and it's going to be devastating to our budget. And we have to enact and we have to support doing that. But right now, because the public hasn't been informed correctly on that or thoroughly, they're having some issues with it, and so I think we can do a better job in working through communication issues with our citizens.
Thank you. Let's give Karen a chance to give her closing statement.
When the city raised the business registration, we did it according to law, according to Rudy. We jumped through all the hoops, we'd had the meetings. It was not communicated to the public as it should have been. So we had a meeting between Rudy and Mr. Bartosh and Lana at the chamber because she represents businesses and small businesses. And Rudy put out a very nice letter of explanation and a very sincere apology to the citizens that were impacted by this registration fee. A little too late as far as I was concerned, and let Rudy know that, and Doug Bartosh too. But work sessions are what I would like to see more people at. I've thoroughly enjoyed being on the council for the last 19 plus years. Some people say it's too long. I say it's not long enough. I would like to be reelected. I don't do a whole lot of talking maybe in our meetings, but I learn an awful lot and get real surprising results by just listening. A lot of times it's being said. I don't have to repeat it if it's already been said, just to hear myself talk in prolonged meetings. So we do extensive studies before we raise rates. Even on the bus issue, we had studies on our buses before we went up 5 cents. We don't just, like I said before, we don't arbitrarily just pull figures out of the air and say, okay, we're going to do this. I even said with the water rates, the sewer rates, every year, just like any other utility, they should be, if necessary, they should be increased a little at a time. You don't wait 7 or 8 years. It's fallen on deaf ears with me, but finally they're starting to listen to what we're saying. And utilities raise their rates every year. Water and sewer is no different if you do it in increments that people can absorb, not wait, like I said, 7, 8 years before you go, okay, here you go, here's a large increase. I don't like it. I don't care to do business that way. So I think I've made a difference in the city of Cottonwood. I love my city. I want to be reelected because I still feel like I've got a whole lot more to give. And I'm out there working it, and I would really appreciate your vote. I'm doing a good job, and I would like to continue doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Randall?
This election, at this ballot, you're going to have 5 candidates to choose from, 5 people that I believe all truly feel they're going to do what's best for the community, and they can help make this a better community. So you're going to have a very tough decision. The decision's going to come down to, what do you want? What do you want this city to look like? What do you want your council to do? How do you want to be represented? I'm a business owner. I understand business. I do budgets. I worked with the school systems for the last 12 years, and as anybody that lives in this state knows, the state has been very harsh on educational budgets, and we had to learn year after year how to do more and more and with less and less, and still provide those opportunities and still provide a quality education with less money to do so. So I understand how to work budgets and how to deal with staying within a budget. I am invested in the schooling and the education, the college of this community. I'm invested in the economic development of this community. I serve on tons of committees. I've been involved with the fire department, the police department, our judicial system. I've lived this city. I'm an operator, a water operator. I've done that job for 30 plus years, and I understand how the infrastructure of our water needs and providing water services to our properties and to our citizens, and also how that's collected and brought back and dealt with when it becomes sewer. So I believe at the end of the day, I'm going to come to the table and become part of this conversation that is a council meeting, better prepared with a better set of tools and able to provide a reasonable response and represent the citizens of this town better than any candidate that I'm running against, or I wouldn't be running for this board.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this forum and for your active participation. I'd also like to thank Yavapai Broadcasting and the City of Cottonwood for their assistance. I'd like to thank Mary Gassaway for her timing, and Robin Pudham-Bauer and Mary Gassaway for organizing this forum, and Kathy Davis for helping us to sort our questions. This forum is also going to be available for viewing online at www.verdivalleytv.com/features.html. I assume the candidates might be available for further discussion, and this is a primary vote by mail election, so the registration closed on February 13th, and your ballots need to be received by Tuesday, March 12th. Thank you.
Liz?